USB drive that would change everything. My name is Nathan Hayes, I'm 57, and I just found proof that my wife of 2 years was planning to kill me. Let me back up. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I walked into our home office looking for my reading glasses. Monica was at her yoga class, or so she said. The office is on the second floor of our house in Belmont Heights, overlooking the bay. Diana and I had designed it together 20 years ago when we first moved in. Now it felt like walking through someone else's space. I needed to check some construction permits for a job site downtown. Hayes Construction has been my life's work for 25 years, built from nothing into a company worth about $12 million. Not huge by some standards, but enough to provide a good life for my family and employ 47 people who depend on me. That's when I knocked over Monica's laptop bag. It was sitting on Diana's old reading chair, the burgundy leather one she used to curl up in with her mystery novels. The USB drive fell out and rolled under the mahogany desk. I probably should have just put it back. Diana always taught me to respect people's privacy, but something about the way it was hidden in that inner pocket made me curious. Monica had always been secretive about her computer work, claiming it was just boring real estate documents for her design clients. What I found when I plugged it in nearly made me sick. The first folder was labeled Background Research, NH, my initials. Inside were dozens of files about me, my family, my business. There were copies of my tax returns going back 5 years, bank statements, insurance policies, even my medical records from my physical last year. How had she gotten access to all this? But it got worse. There were photographs of me at work sites that I'd never seen before. Pictures taken from a distance with a telephoto lens, showing me talking to contractors, walking around construction sites, getting into my truck. The dates went back 3 years, a full year before Monica and I had even met. She'd been watching me before we ever spoke. The next folder made my hands shake. Previous subjects contained profiles of 4 other men. All widowers in their 50s and 60s, all successful business owners. Richard Coleman, 58, owned a trucking company in Phoenix. Michael Garrett, 62, had a chain of auto repair shops in Denver. Thomas Anderson, 59, ran a manufacturing business in Portland. David Walsh, 54, owned restaurants in Sacramento. Every file contained the same type of information: financial records, family photos, medical history, insurance policies. And every file had a final document marked Estate Transfer Complete. All of them were dead. I sat in that chair for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, clicking through file after file. The level of detail was incredible. Monica had documented everything about these men's lives, their routines, their weaknesses, their fears. She knew Richard Coleman was diabetic and took insulin. She knew Michael Garrett was grieving his wife's death from cancer. She knew Thomas Anderson was afraid of losing his memory like his father had. That's when I found the document titled NH Timeline Final Phase, Nathan Hayes. That was me. The document laid out a month-by-month plan in clinical detail. Subjects showing increasing memory issues as of month 8. Dr. Morris reports cognitive decline accelerating on schedule, estimated 6 months until conservatorship viable. Asset transfer to MRM Holdings to be completed by December, insurance claim to be filed within 30 days of incapacitation or natural death. MRM Holdings. Monica Rachel Martinez, her real name apparently natural death. The words made my stomach turn. There were medical research files too, detailed studies about medications and their effects on healthy individuals. Donicil, a drug used to treat Alzheimer's patients. According to the research, Monica had gathered, when given to people without dementia, especially when combined with certain other medications, it could cause severe confusion, memory loss, and disorientation. The symptoms I'd been experiencing for the past 8 months. For months, I'd been forgetting things. It started small, where I put my keys, the name of a contractor I'd worked with for years, appointments I'd scheduled, but it had been getting worse. Last week, I'd completely blanked on my own daughter's birthday until Monica gently reminded me. The week before that, I'd gotten lost driving to a job site I'd visited dozens of times. Monica had been so understanding, so worried about me. She'd found a specialist for me, Dr. Calvin Morris, who'd run some tests and diagnosed me with early onset cognitive decline. He'd prescribed medication to slow the progression and suggested I consider reducing my workload, maybe even stepping back from active management of the company. Monica had been nothing but supportive. She'd driven me to my appointments, helped me organize my medication, even suggested we update my will just to be safe in case my condition progressed faster than expected. But now I understood what was happening to me. Monica hadn't been caring for me during my decline. She'd been causing it. I found the dosage schedules in another folder, precise measurements of Donicil mixed with lorazepam and something called zolpidem, notes about which foods masked the bitter taste best. Coffee was at the top of the list, followed by orange juice and tea. My morning coffee. Monica made it for me every single day, always with that special care, always served in my favorite mug, always with exactly the right amount of cream and sugar. She'd been so proud of finally getting it just the way I liked it. She'd been poisoning me for 8 months. I copied everything to my own flash drive, my hands shaking so badly I could barely work the mouse. Then I put Monica's USB back exactly where I'd found it, slid it into that inner pocket of her laptop bag, and placed the bag back on Diana's chair. I sat there for another few minutes, trying to process what I'd learned. The woman I'd fallen in love with, the woman who'd helped me heal from Diana's death, the woman I'd married and trusted with my life, she was a predator, a professional killer who'd done this at least 4 times before, and I was supposed to be victim number 5. My phone buzzed with a text from Monica, yoga running late. We'll be home by noon, love you honey, the same sweet, caring tone she always used. I stared at those words and felt sick. I went downstairs to my real office, the one in the basement where I kept my important business files. Everything was exactly as I'd left it, but now I looked at it differently. Had Monica been through here too? Had she photographed these documents as well? I pulled out my phone and called my daughter, Rachel. She works in marketing for a tech company downtown, smart as a whip, just like her mother was. I needed to see her, needed to tell someone what I'd discovered, but I couldn't do it over the phone. Not this. Dad, what's wrong? She asked when she answered. You sound terrible. I need to see you. Can you meet me for lunch today? It's important, of course. How about that little Italian place on 5th Street? The one Mom used to love. Perfect. 12:30. Dad, are you okay? You're scaring me. I looked out the basement window toward the driveway, waiting for Monica's car to appear. I'll explain everything when I see you. Just don't mention this call to Monica. Okay? Why would I, Dad? What's going on? I'll tell you at lunch. I love you, sweetheart. I hung up and went back upstairs to wait for my wife to come home from poisoning me. When Monica came home 20 minutes later, I was sitting in the living room pretending to read the newspaper. She looked radiant, glowing from her workout, carrying her yoga mat and water bottle. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she was wearing those expensive workout clothes she'd bought after we got married. Everything about her looked normal, healthy, happy. How was your morning, honey? She asked, leaning down to kiss my forehead. I had to fight not to pull away. Fine. Just catching up on some reading. She glanced at the newspaper in my hands. Nathan, that's yesterday's paper. I looked down and realized she was right. My hands were shaking slightly, and I hoped she couldn't see it. Oh, I guess I'm just distracted thinking about the Morrison project. Monica sat down beside me on the couch, her face creasing with concern. Are you feeling okay? You've seemed a little confused lately. Maybe we should call Dr. Morris and move up your next appointment. Dr. Morris, the specialist who was helping Monica document my supposed cognitive decline. The man who was probably being paid to provide false diagnoses that would support her plan to have me declared incompetent. I'm fine, I managed. Just tired. Well, let me make you some coffee. That always helps you focus. She stood up and headed toward the kitchen. No, I said it louder than I'd intended. Monica stopped and turned around, surprised. No coffee. My mind raced for an excuse. My stomach's been bothering me. Maybe just water. She studied my face for a moment, and I wondered if she suspected anything. But then she smiled, that warm, caring smile I'd fallen in love with. Of course, I'll get you some water and maybe some of those crackers that help with your stomach. As she walked to the kitchen, I watched her move with that graceful confidence she'd always had. 2 years ago, when we'd met at that charity auction for the children's hospital, she'd seemed like a gift from heaven. A beautiful, intelligent woman who understood my grief over losing Diana, who was patient with my healing process, who seemed to genuinely care about me and Rachel. We'd met when she'd bid on the same silent auction item I was interested in, a weekend at a bed and breakfast in Napa Valley that Diana and I had always planned to visit but never got the chance. Monica had noticed my disappointment when she outbid me and had approached me after the event. You looked like that trip meant something special to you, she'd said. I'd be happy to share it. Maybe we could both use some time in wine country. It had been the perfect opening line. Thoughtful, generous, non-threatening. Now I realized it had probably been calculated, just another part of her research into what would appeal to me. The courtship had been slow and careful. Monica never pushed, never rushed, always seemed to understand when I needed space, or when memories of Diana made me emotional. She'd been patient with Rachel too, never trying to replace her mother, but offering friendship and support. When I'd proposed 14 months after we met, it had felt like the right thing to do. Deanna had been gone for 3 years by then, and Monica had helped me remember what it felt like to be happy again. Rachel had given her blessing, saying she was glad I wouldn't be alone anymore. If only we'd known. Monica returned with the water and crackers, setting them on the coffee table in front of me. Better? Yes, thank you. I took a sip of water, studying her face. How had I never seen it before? The calculation behind her eyes, the way she watched me sometimes like she was taking notes. I need to run some errands this afternoon, she said. Do you need anything? I can stop by the pharmacy if you're running low on your medications. My medications? The ones Dr. Morris had prescribed for my condition. I wondered now if those pills contained the same poisons Monica was putting in my coffee. No, I'm fine. Actually, I'm having lunch with Rachel today. Oh, that's wonderful. You two don't spend enough time together. Monica's smile never wavered, but I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Where are you meeting that little Italian place on 5th Street? Sophia's? Deanna used to love that place. She said it with just the right note of gentle remembrance, acknowledging my first wife's memory without any hint of jealousy. It was exactly the right thing to say, and it made my skin crawl. At 12:15, I got in my truck and drove downtown to meet Rachel. The restaurant was only 10 minutes away, but I needed the extra time to figure out how to tell my daughter that her stepmother was trying to kill me. Sophia's hadn't changed much since Diana's time. Same checkered tablecloths, same smell of garlic and oregano, same photos of the Amalfi Coast covering the walls. Deanna and I had celebrated our 20th anniversary here just 5 months before she died in that car accident. Monica knew all of this, of course. She'd probably chosen this restaurant deliberately. Rachel was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a worried expression on her face. At 25, she looked so much like her mother it sometimes took my breath away. Same auburn hair, same green eyes, same determined set to her jaw when she was concerned about something. Dad, you look terrible, she said as I sat down across from her. What's going on? You've been different lately, and now you're being all secretive. I glanced around the restaurant. It wasn't crowded, and our table was far enough from others that we could talk privately. Still, I kept my voice low. Rachel, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Don't react, don't look shocked, just listen. I reached across the table and took her hand. I think Monica is poisoning me. To her credit, Rachel's expression barely changed. She squeezed my hand and leaned forward slightly. Tell me everything. I told her about the USB drive, about the research files, about the other men who died. Rachel listened without interrupting, but I could see the anger building in her eyes. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Dad, I've been worried about you for months. The memory problems, the confusion, but I've also been worried about something else. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. There have been some unusual transactions in the company accounts. Small amounts at first, but they've been getting larger. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. I thought maybe you'd approve them and forgotten given what's been happening with your memory. My blood went cold. How much total? About $85,000 over the past 6 months, all transferred to something called MRM Holdings. MRM Holdings. Monica Rachel Martinez. She wasn't just planning to steal my life, she was already stealing from my company. Rachel, we need help, professional help. This is way beyond what we can handle on our own. What do you want to do? I pulled out my phone and showed her a business card I'd found in my wallet. Sandra Walsh. She's a private investigator I heard about through Philip Carson, our lawyer, former police detective, specializes in financial crimes. Rachel studied the card. When do we call her this afternoon? But first, I need to know, Menace, has Monica ever asked you about the business? About how the accounts work, who has access, anything like that? Rachel thought for a moment, actually, yes. A few months ago, she asked me about the payroll system. Said she was curious about how small businesses handle their finances. She seemed really interested in who had signing authority, how transfers were approved, that kind of thing. What did you tell her? Just general stuff, that you and Oliver both had full access, and that transfers over $50,000 required 2 signatures. Rachel paused. Dad, she was gathering information, wasn't she? She's been gathering information for years about me, about the company, about our family. I thought about Diana's death, how Monica had appeared in my life just as I was at my most vulnerable. Rachel, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me, okay? Do you remember anything unusual about the charity auction where I met Monica? Did she seem to know anything about our family before we talked? Rachel's face went pale. Dad, I've always wondered about that night. Monica bid on that Napa Valley trip, but when she outbid you, she looked satisfied. Not happy about winning something she wanted, but satisfied. Like she'd accomplished what she came there to do. The pieces were falling into place. Monica hadn't met me by chance that night. She'd researched me, learned about my connection to that bed and breakfast through Diana's memory, and used it to make contact. The whole thing had been a setup from the beginning. There's something else. Rachel continued, after you started dating her. I did some basic research. You know how I'm with social media and background checks? What did you find? That's just it. I didn't find anything. No social media presence before 2019, no employment history, no college records. It was like Monica Martinez didn't exist before she moved to Seattle, because she didn't. Monica Martinez was just the latest identity in a string of false personas used to target and kill successful men, and I'd been stupid enough to fall for it. That afternoon, I called Sandra Walsh from my truck in the parking lot outside Sophia's. Rachel sat beside me, listening to every word. Sandra's office was in a narrow building downtown, sandwiched between a coffee shop and a used bookstore. The sign on the door just said Walsh Investigations in plain black letters. No fancy graphics, no promises of discretion or satisfaction guaranteed. Just the facts. Sandra herself was maybe 48 with graying brown hair and the kind of direct gaze that probably made criminals nervous when she was still with the police. Her office was small but organized, a desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets, and a computer setup that looked more sophisticated than what most small businesses could afford. "Mr. Hayes, tell me everything from the beginning." I handed her copies of everything I'd found on Monica's USB drive. Sandra studied the documents while I talked, making notes on a yellow legal pad. "Monica Martinez," she said when I finished. "That name doesn't ring a bell, but these other identities might." She turned to her computer and started typing. "Let me run some basic searches while we're talking." Rachel leaned forward. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Patterns, women who marry older widowers and then inherit money after short marriages. It's more common than you'd think, and it's usually the same type of predator." Sandra's fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. "The smart ones use different names, different states, sometimes different appearances, but they can't completely erase their past." Within 20 minutes, Sandra had found what she was looking for. Maria Santos, Phoenix, Arizona, married Richard Coleman in 2019. He died 18 months later from what doctors called complications related to his diabetes. Maria inherited his trucking business and $400,000 in life insurance. She pulled up another screen. Before that, Elena Rodriguez in Denver married Michael Garrett in 2017. He died in a fall down the stairs at their home. Elena inherited his auto repair chain and $650,000. My stomach turned. Those are 2 of the men from the files, and I'm betting if I keep digging, I'll find the other 2 as well. Sandra printed out the documents she'd found and added them to the growing pile on her desk. "Mr. Hayes, your wife is what law enforcement calls a black widow. She targets successful older men, marries them, and then kills them for their money." Rachel's face was pale. "How many times has she done this? Based on what your father found, at least 4 times in the past 8 years. But there could be more." "These women usually start small and get more ambitious over time." Sandra leaned back in her chair. "The good news is that you figured it out before she could finish whatever she's planning. The bad news is that she's experienced and she's careful. If she realizes you're onto her, she'll disappear and you'll never see her again." "What do we do?" I asked. "We gather evidence, real evidence that will hold up in court. And we do it without Monica knowing what we're doing." Sandra opened a desk drawer and pulled out a business card. "But first, I think we need to bring in federal law enforcement." The card reads, "Special Agent Lauren Thompson, FBI Financial Crimes Division. Financial fraud involving multiple states makes this a federal case," Sandra explained. "Agent Thompson has worked several cases like this. She'll know how to build a prosecution that will stick." I stared at the card. 2 hours ago, my biggest worry had been finishing the Morrison office building on schedule. Now I was talking about FBI investigations and multiple murders. "There's something else we need to do immediately," Sandra continued. "We need to test your blood and hair for the drugs Monica's been giving you. If we're going to prove poisoning, we need medical evidence." "What about the coffee?" "She makes it for me every morning. Tomorrow morning you drink it. But you spit it into a thermos when she's not looking. We'll have it analyzed." Sandra made another note. "We'll also need to document everything she's been doing. The doctor visits, the medication she's given you, any changes to your will or insurance policies." Rachel spoke up. "What about the money she's already stolen from the company? We'll trace every transaction. The FBI can get warrants for bank records, phone records, everything we need." Sandra looked at both of us. "But you need to understand something. This investigation could take weeks or even months, and during that time you'll have to go home every night and act like nothing has changed." The thought of sitting across from Monica at dinner, of letting her kiss me goodnight, of pretending I still trusted her, made me feel sick. "Can you do that?" Sandra asked. I thought about Diana, about the 23 years we'd had together before that car accident took her away from me. I thought about Rachel, about the company I'd built, about the 47 people who worked for Hayes Construction and depended on me. I thought about the other men Monica had killed, and about the men she might kill in the future if we didn't stop her. Yes, I said, I can do it. Sandra called Agent Thompson while we were still in her office. The FBI agent agreed to meet us that evening at Sandra's office. No official building, no paperwork trail that Monica might somehow detect. One more thing, Sandra said as Rachel and I prepared to leave. From now on, don't eat or drink anything Monica gives you, make excuses, claim you're not hungry, whatever it takes, and don't take any of those medications Dr. Morris prescribed. What if she gets suspicious? Better suspicious than dead. As we walked back to our cars, Rachel grabbed my arm. Dad, are you sure about this? Maybe we should just go to the police right now, show them what you found. I looked at my daughter, so young and worried. Rachel, if we go to the police with what we have now, what do you think will happen? They'll investigate. Maybe, or maybe they'll say it's all circumstantial. Maybe Monica will claim she was just researching those men for some innocent reason. Maybe Dr. Morris will say my symptoms are real and I'm paranoid because of my condition. I shook my head. Sandra's right. We need solid evidence, the kind that can't be explained away. But what if something happens to you while we're gathering evidence? Nothing's going to happen to me. Monica thinks her plan is working perfectly. She thinks I'm getting sicker, that I trust her completely, that I have no idea what she's really doing. I managed a smile. For once in this whole mess, the advantage is ours. That evening, I went home and cooked dinner for Monica and myself. Pasta with marinara sauce, nothing fancy, but I made sure I prepared everything myself. Monica seemed pleased that I was taking initiative in the kitchen. You're feeling better, she observed, watching me work. A little. The lunch with Rachel helped. She always cheers me up. I'm so glad you two are close. Family is everything. Monica set the table, moving around our kitchen like she belonged there, like she was planning to be there for years to come. If only she knew that Agent Lauren Thompson was already reviewing her case file, and that tomorrow we would begin building the case that would put her in prison for the rest of her life. But tonight I had to be Nathan Hayes, the confused and declining husband who trusted his wife completely. Tomorrow I would start being the man who was going to bring her down. Agent Lauren Thompson was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 40s. But she had the kind of confidence that comes from years of federal work. She arrived at Sandra's office at 7 p.m. sharp, carrying a briefcase and wearing a serious expression. Mr. Hayes, I've reviewed the preliminary information Sandra sent me. What you're describing is consistent with several cases we've been tracking across multiple states. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a tablet. We need to move carefully, but we need to move fast. If Monica realizes you're onto her, she'll disappear. Over the next 2 weeks, we built our trap. Agent Thompson had me fitted with a recording device that looked like a pen. Sandra installed hidden cameras in our house while Monica was out. We tested my coffee every morning and found exactly what we expected, a cocktail of drugs designed to destroy my cognitive function. The hardest part was acting normal. Every morning, Monica would hand me that coffee with her caring smile. Every evening, she'd ask about my day and listen with apparent concern when I described my confusion and memory problems. She scheduled more appointments with Dr. Morris. She even brought up the idea of updating my will again just in case. The breakthrough came on a Thursday evening in April. Monica's phone rang while she was in the kitchen preparing dinner. The caller ID said Robert Torres. I'd seen that name in the USB files. Monica's business partner. He's getting worse, I heard Monica say, her voice carrying from the kitchen to the living room where I sat pretending to watch TV. Dr. Morris thinks we can accelerate the timeline. I stayed perfectly still, letting the hidden microphone do its work. The will is already updated, Monica continued. Everything transfers to MRM Holdings upon incapacitation or death. Hayes Construction, the house, his retirement accounts, all of it. Total value about $3.2 million. My blood went cold. She wasn't just planning to have me declared incompetent. She was planning my death. Robert, we stick to the original plan. Once he's in the memory care facility, his condition will deteriorate rapidly. Natural progression of the disease. No one questions it when dementia patients decline quickly in institutional care. That night, after Monica went to bed, I called Agent Thompson. We have enough, she said. Tomorrow morning, we make our move. Friday started like any other day. Monica made coffee. I pretended to drink it. She kissed me goodbye and said she was meeting with a client about a kitchen design. At 10 a.m., Sandra called. She's not meeting a client. She's at a storage unit with Robert Torres. They're moving boxes. An hour later, Agent Thompson called. Nathan, Monica just transferred $85,000 from Hayes Construction to MRM Holdings. We've got her on wire fraud. When Monica came home that afternoon, she found me sitting at the kitchen table with Agent Thompson and 2 other federal agents. Monica Martinez, also known as Maria Santos and Elena Rodriguez, Agent Thompson said, standing up. You're under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and poisoning. Monica's face went through several changes. Surprise, then calculation, then something cold and hard. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. But first, let's talk about the donepezil in your husband's coffee. Agent Thompson played the recording from the night before. Monica's voice filled the room, discussing my deteriorating condition and the plan to speed up my decline. Monica looked at me then, and I saw her for what she really was. Not the caring wife who'd helped me heal from grief, but a predator who'd been planning my death from the moment we met. They arrested Robert Torres that same afternoon. The FBI found evidence connecting them to 4 other cases across 3 states. Dr. Morris lost his medical license. Monica got life without parole, 4 counts of murder, plus fraud and conspiracy charges. Robert got 25 years. As for me, it took 6 months for the drugs to completely clear my system. My memory came back, my thinking sharpened. Rachel and I rebuilt Hayes Construction stronger than ever. I also started the Hayes Foundation, helping people who've been victimized by marriage fraud. Last month, we helped a man from Portland whose wife had been stealing his retirement money. These predators are out there, but now we're watching for them. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was realizing how easily I'd been fooled. But I learned something important. Trust isn't weakness, but blind trust can be deadly. Monica Martinez is exactly where she belongs, in prison, with no one left to fool and nowhere left to run. And that USB drive that started it all, it saved my life. Sometimes the smallest things change everything. The person who says they love you most might be the one planning to destroy you, but remember, real family will always fight to bring you home. Trust your instincts, verify the facts, and never let grief make you so hungry for love that you invite a predator to your table.